Welcome to Rhythm, a journey to empower the youth through well-being and self-discovery. I am Sheena.
And I am Pranav. And we are here with Swami Tadananda, President of Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, New Zealand. Namaste, Swamiji. How are you?
Namaste, Pranav and Sheena. I'm very good. Thank you. How are you both?
We are doing amazing, thank you. We are so grateful to have you with us today. And just reviewing in the last episode, we discussed how Vedanta is not religious, but it's actually spiritual, and anybody can practice it. We also talked about the external and internal world and how thoughts control our activities. We also discussed about how we are not just physical beings, but also spiritual beings and what is beyond the mind.
We also briefly discussed about consciousness. This is a new concept for many of us. So, Swamiji, shall we please explore this in more detail for the benefit of for our listeners?
Sure, Sheena. It's a very important concept. We touched very briefly to give an idea about what is beyond even the mind. So we talked, and we are all aware that we have a physical body, and beyond that is the mind that is made of thoughts, ideas, knowledge, information, and emotions, feelings that we are aware of. We are also aware of a sense of I within us, and then we do not know what's beyond that. This is the understanding of oneself as we grow up in our schools, teachers teach us, and at home, parents teach us. So we discussed how the ancient Vedic teachers as explorers went beyond the mind, diving deeper within ourselves, and they came to the foundation of our being, which they tried to describe with this word consciousness. Actually, they use the word Atman, or the self, or higher self, that which is beyond the ego. So, to give an example, or to explain it a little bit deeper, in the last episode, we introduced a visual concept of how we are waves, but behind the wave is the ocean. And there is only one ocean out of which all these waves come. So the waves are like our physical body, our mental body, and our ego, that which is manifested. But it has a source, and that source is consciousness. It is not physical, it is not mental, but something even finer than that. I think you will remember in the last episode, we talked about how ice has come out of water, and water has condensed from water vapor. So
Yes.
it's the same substance, but manifested in different ways. Likewise, this body is like the ice, the mind is like the water. If we can use that imagery, then beyond the mind, there is something even finer, which is the water vapor, parallel, which we say that is the intelligence, the spiritual intelligence. There is that intelligence again is a manifestation of something even finer, and that substratum, the foundation out of which everything has come in this whole universe, whether it's a human being, it's a divine being, whether it's an animal, it's a plant, whether it's an atom, everything comes out of that supreme consciousness. It's described in different words, in different philosophies. Some call it God, some Father in heaven, some call it the absolute, some call it the transcendental reality. Uh, the scientists are seeking for the same thing. Religious people are also seeking for the same thing. That's all that is within us, all of us. So, with that little bit of a parallel example, let us explore this within ourselves. You see, like, how do I know what makes me different from a table? Okay, the table is just some matter, wood and metal and all those things that has been together. Is it manifesting that consciousness? Is it showing any sign of life? Maybe you'll say it is not. But a plant can show some life, it can grow, it can reproduce, it can fruit and flower. In a animal, that consciousness is even more manifest. It can walk around and interact with the environment. In a human being, that consciousness is even more manifest. So a human being is superior to other creatures on this planet because he or she manifests a greater degree of consciousness, which is intelligence, and is able to have greater control over the elements of nature and all that. So when we keep on pushing this idea beyond, what is that consciousness in its greatest absolute infinite form? What is it, that ocean like? That type of understanding is important. Otherwise, we do not know ourselves fully. So does this give you a bit of idea about what we cannot actually define it because it is finer than the mind? Okay, it is finer
Yes.
than the mind, but the mind is a product out of it. So the ordinary mind that we have, it is too gross to be able to capture that subtle intelligence or consciousness that's there. But it can, the same mind can be transformed, made purer, made finer to be able to experience that higher dimension within us, which is consciousness.
Oh, I see, I see. And what are these qualities of what are the qualities of consciousness?
So everything that is manifest in this world is a limited version of that consciousness. Okay. So within us, we have got limited knowledge, which we get from our five senses. The senses actually limit that infinite light. That means we can see only as visual spectrum. We can hear certain frequencies of sound from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. We can feel certain temperatures and all that. But there is an infinite amount of energy beyond that, which our body and our senses cannot capture. That infinite knowledge beyond our senses gives an idea of what is that consciousness about. Within us, we feel joy, happiness, that infinite bliss that one can feel would be would give you some idea about the quality of that consciousness. This body and our whole being that we are exists for limited time. That means we are born, we live for a while, and then we die. That's the law of nature. In the whole universe, nothing is permanent. Everything comes into existence, remains, and disappears. The forms disappear. That out of which it came, by which it is sustained, to which all forms will return. That is consciousness. Okay, so it is, we are talking about the ocean. All right, we are talking about the ocean, which is limitless existence. It is eternal, it is immortal, it's beyond time, beyond space. It is a state in which there is no ignorance, it's full of knowledge about everything and anything. It is full of bliss, a state in which there is no suffering. It is absolute freedom, absolute purity, absolute beauty, absolute goodness, all wonderful things that we are seeking in this external world actually resides within us all, in the just like the ocean resides behind the wave. So it's a very powerful, wonderful idea, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
When we grow up, we this is not given to us. Maybe we're too young to understand all those things at that time, but we build our identity. We all have an identity, I amness, so we begin to identify with the body, and if it's a male body, then we say we are male. We're female. We identify with the color of the body, and we say I'm black, brown, white. We grow up and we have certain likes and dislikes, and we become identified with that. Our mind gets cultured, or what you call it, gets conditioned by our culture and the environment we are brought up. So we say I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, or I'm a Indian, or I'm a Maori. See, this is how the mind is all getting conditioned. We're building up an identity. Later
Yeah.
on, through some formal training, the mind will be trained to manage, to master certain fields of knowledge, and we end up becoming a doctor, engineer, or teacher, whatever. Anyway, we all
Right.
build up this sense of identity. But nowhere in that, in our training and upbringing, we are taught about this ocean behind us, the ocean, infinite ocean of consciousness behind us. We are taught about all the limited version of ourselves.
Right.
Behind that is that tremendous infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite beauty, purity, goodness, all that we are manifesting in little ways is hiding, residing
Right.
within us all. How
But
wonderful is that
Swamiji,
idea? Hmm.
um, so w you talk about all this infinite ocean of consciousness. So I feel like sometimes in society, like we might have people trying to like bring us down or stuff, but there's actually, if you believe in yourself and you actually let go of the societal expectations and exceed that, then that's a good thing. But how can Vedanta help us achieve this?
So the first thing is to know about this, even intellectually, what we have discussed briefly in here. That is something new for many people, you know.
Yes.
And so, if it is so, if it is something that is really part of our own being, then we should know it. It's not like an option in science, what's happening in the planets and galaxies or under the sea or in the sky. Those are optional knowledges, but this is really about our own selves, and it's a very powerful, wonderful thing, isn't it? It's not like,
Yes.
see, look, the world keeps on telling us about our limitations.
Yes.
Okay, we can't do this, you can't do that, you don't know
Yes.
this, you're stupid, or whatever is there. Failures come and we are reminded of our limitations. Here is something that is very, very powerful, which tells us, look, even the manifestation may be less, the wave might be small, but behind is that powerful ocean all the time, available to us, limitless, pure, perfect. I
Right.
think
And
the
and and you believe that
yes,
um us as individual youths, we can tap into that infinite ocean of consciousness by using the teachings of Vedanta.
exactly. This is the gift of the Vedic teachers. Okay, that is not available to us in our Western knowledge system. This is so powerful, so uplifting, so empowering. You are not dependent on anyone outside there for somebody's help or grace. It is our own divine birthright. It's our own higher self. And so the first thing is to really explore this, think about it deeply, and begin to feel that ocean behind the wave. Okay, develop that awareness and remind ourselves whenever world knocks you down and shows our limitations and shortcomings, we tell ourselves, really, my real true identity is that I'm a spiritual being. I'm limitless. I'm powerful. I'm omniscient. I'm omnipotent. Everything is within there. The question is, am I able to manifest that or not? That is the next stage comes. So first we have to acknowledge that such a state exists or such a power exists within us. And
Right.
one, and then the next question would be, okay, well, if it is there, how do I access that, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you take the first step, right?
Yes, and
To access.
so that would be the practice part of it, and we'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah. In the next
How
episodes.
Yes, and it's very, very transformational. I think, this knowledge should become available to young people. The sooner the better. There's no point learning
Yes.
about these things in old age when life has gone by. We've been knocked around and feeling miserable and helpless when all the help was available to me all the time from the moment I was born and even before. So that's why
Right.
we are very keen to make this knowledge of Vedanta, which is about our own divinity, our own infinite power behind us, the little wave that we are we experiencing ourselves? Behind each one of us is that infinite ocean. And the more we think about it, the more we remind about ourselves about it, the more that wave will begin to grow and manifest itself. There's a beautiful story about how this knowledge can be so transformational and a parable. Maybe
Wow,
we
we'd
can
like
take
to
that up.
hear it.
Yes. Shall we take that up in the next episode?
Yes, I
Yes.
think we should, 100%.
Yeah. So I
Um,
think,
Also, we always talk about this consciousness, but why is it so important in our understanding of ourselves?
well, if we don't bring in this idea or concept of consciousness, do you see that our knowledge of ourselves is incomplete? We are just knowing about the little wave, but not knowing where it has come from,
Right.
what is sustaining it, where will it return? And those are the questions we always ask ourselves. Who are we? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What happens to us when we die? And that is that higher knowledge when it's missing, then we make poor choices in life. Okay. And when we have the fuller picture, then we make smarter choices. So it is important. It's so empowering. The quality of our life becomes transformed. You see, you might be aware of this wonderful scripture which teaches the Vedanta called the Bhagavad Gita. It's a conversation between Lord Sri Krishna, who is a spiritual teacher, to his disciple Arjuna. And Arjuna was a great, accomplished person, he's a great warrior, respected and feared by everyone. They're all gathered together for this mighty war. He was all excited about it. And at that crucial juncture, just before the war was about to start, something happened within, and this great warrior felt so weak, so afraid. All his strength and everything dissipated. He was shaking and shivering and wanting to run away from the battlefield of life, from the battlefield. And so at that moment, the spiritual teacher, he came forward and said, Arjuna, all your education that you have received, all the training that you have received, that has made you this great person, famous and strong, it is insufficient. You see, such is your plight because you do not know about this higher dimension of yourself. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, he starts by introducing this concept of the Atman, the spiritual consciousness that's within us. And he talks about about that spiritual dimension, which is eternal, which is immortal, which is pure, which is perfect, and everything. And when he taught that in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, that knowledge totally transformed him, and he could regain his balance of mind, strength of mind. He became strong and became fearless, and he could discharge that tremendous responsibility in which he engaged uh, the war. So in our life, we all have our own little battles. Okay, not as big as Arjuna's. And many a time you find we need that strength, we need that courage, and we're looking for that outside, somebody to give us some counseling or some support or some encouragement or validation, but we're not really looking for for that strength within us. So this is why I think it is so, so, so important for young people to know more about it. Not only know about it, to apply that teaching in their life, in the decision making. And when you bring this wonderful light of knowledge, then the darkness of ignorance disappears. And if that light is not there, then we stumble and fall and make mistakes as we go through in the darkness, uh, without that spiritual knowledge of who we are truly.
And Swamiji, how does this knowledge help like the youth today in their everyday today life?
Yeah, well, maybe we can illustrate that with that story that I talked about. It's a beautiful parable. Maybe we'll take that in the next episode because
Yes.
a
Yeah.
good illustration is necessary. But I think in this episode, we have introduced a very important concept, so empowering, so uplifting, so much needed by anyone and everyone in this world. And unfortunately, we don't hear much about that. We don't, no one talks about that, and that's why we feel we are weak, we're miserable, we suffer. So this is the power and the gift of Vedanta that we are offering to everyone, but especially for the youth because they have their whole life journey in front of them, and they can do so much better empowered with this knowledge. But that story, shall we take that in the next episode?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. We've learned a lot in today's episode about how consciousness is something finer than our thoughts and minds. Um, we also loved your short story about the Bhagavad Gita and about how Arjuna's physical aspects wasn't really as successful because he didn't use the Vedanta teachings and kind of went to his spiritual self. Um, yeah, and thank you so much for your time.
You're most
Sheena, would you
welcome.
like to say anything?
Yes, thank you so much for this amazing knowledge that you have shared with us and our listeners. And hopefully, next episode, we will go deeper into this knowledge and uplift our minds.
Thank you. Looking forward
Thank
to
you.
meeting you again in the next episode.
Thank you
Yes.
everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.